The chemo had stolen my hair, but I thought nothing could steal my hope until my daughter-in-law sat in my hospital room and asked when I planned to die. Not in those exact words, of course. Brittany was too smart for that. But when someone keeps glancing at the monitors showing your vitals and asking about end-of-life planning, while you're celebrating 6 months cancer-free, the message comes through clear enough. "Sharon, we just want to make sure everything's in order," she said, her manicured nails tapping against her designer purse. "You know, financially speaking." I was still holding the card from my oncologist. The one with the beautiful word remission, printed in bold letters. The one I'd been waiting to see for 18 months of hell. My fingers traced those letters while my daughter-in-law calculated my expiration date. "Everything's fine, Brittany." I tried to keep my voice light. After all, this was supposed to be a celebration. My insurance covered most of the treatment, and I've got good benefits through the clinic. David, my son, shifted uncomfortably in the visitor's chair. He'd inherited his father's height, but none of his backbone. At 35, he still looked like a boy caught between two adults arguing. "That's great, Mom, really great." He cleared his throat. "Actually, we wanted to talk to you about something, an opportunity." Opportunity. In my experience, when family shows up with opportunities right after you've beaten cancer, they're usually looking for something. If you're watching this and you've ever felt that twist in your gut when loved ones turn a moment of joy into a business meeting, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories from survivors of illness, of betrayal, of both. We understand each other here. "What kind of opportunity?" I asked, though the sinking feeling in my stomach already knew. Brittany leaned forward, suddenly animated. "Our restaurant, Bella's Table. You know we've put everything into it." I did know. I'd watched them pour their savings, their time, their marriage into that place. I'd also eaten there. The food was overpriced, the service was terrible, and Brittany spent more time taking Instagram photos than managing staff. "The thing is," David jumped in, "we've hit a rough patch. The pandemic, supply chain issues, staffing problems. We need an investor." Brittany cut straight to it. "Someone who believes in family. Someone who understands that sometimes you have to take risks to succeed." "How much?" The words came out flat. I'd been a single mother since David was 10. I knew all about taking risks. 200,000. The number hung in the air like the smell of disinfectant. $200,000. My entire retirement savings. Every penny I'd scraped together over 30 years of working at the medical clinic, scheduling appointments for other people's emergencies while raising my son alone. That's everything I have." "But think of it as an investment," Brittany said quickly. "With your help, we can turn things around. New menu, better marketing. We'll pay you back with interest." "When?" I asked. She waved her hand dismissively. "Does it really matter? I mean, what else are you going to do with it?" There it was, the question underneath the question. What does a 55-year-old cancer survivor need with retirement savings anyway? David must have seen something in my face because he reached for my hand. "Mom, we wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate. You know that, right? You've always been there for us." Us? When had my son become an us that didn't include me? I had been there. When David called at 2 in the morning, drunk after Brittany's first affair. When they needed a down payment for their house. When Tyler was born and they needed someone to watch him because daycare was too expensive, but Brittany's yoga retreats weren't. "I need to think about it," I said. "Of course." Brittany's smile was sharp as broken glass. "But don't think too long. We have other options, but we wanted to come to family first." Other options? The lie was so obvious even David winced. "Tyler's been asking about you." I changed the subject. "How is he?" "Fine," Brittany said curtly. 16-year-olds, you know, always on his phone." I did know. Tyler had spent more nights at my house than his own over the years. When his parents were building their dreams or working through issues, I was the one helping with homework, attending his basketball games, teaching him to cook. "He's actually on his way up," David said, checking his phone. "Wanted to surprise you." "That's sweet." And it was. Tyler was the light of my life, the grandson who somehow saw through all the adult complications to what mattered. "About the money," Brittany circled back like a shark. "We've prepared a business plan, professional projections. This isn't some fly-by-night scheme, Sharon. This is our future." She pulled out a folder thick, with papers, graphs and charts and numbers that meant nothing because I'd already seen the empty tables at Bella's table. I'd already watched them blame everyone but themselves for their failures. "You know," Brittany continued, her voice taking on a strange tone, "it's actually perfect timing. You're in remission now, but—" She trailed off, letting the implication hang. "But what?" My voice came out stronger than I felt. "Well, cancer can be unpredictable. Wouldn't you rather see your money doing good while you're still here to enjoy it?" "While you're still here." As if my death was penciled into her calendar between Pilates and wine club. David's face flushed. "Brittany." "What?" "I'm being practical. Someone has to be." The hospital room felt smaller suddenly, the walls pressing in like the sides of a coffin. 6 months of fighting for my life, of poison dripping into my veins, of throwing up until I couldn't remember what it felt like not to be sick. I'd survived all that to sit here while my daughter-in-law made investment pitches based on my mortality. "I said I need to think about it." My teacher voice came out, the one that could quiet a classroom of 30 12-year-olds. "Of course, we'll leave the proposal with you." Brittany stood, smoothing her skirt. "Take your time, but remember, every day we wait, we're losing money." They were gathering their things, preparing to leave me with their papers and their pressure, when the door burst open. Tyler stood there, 6 feet of teenage energy, holding balloons that spelled out "Survivor" in glittery letters. His face was bright with joy that dimmed the moment he saw his parents. Tyler's face fell when he saw his parents' serious expressions, the balloons spelling "Survivor," suddenly seeming out of place in the heavy atmosphere of the room. "Am I interrupting something?" He looked between his parents and me, those brown eyes, so like his father's but warmer, already reading the situation. "No, sweetheart, come here." I held out my arms, and he came immediately, folding his tall frame down to hug me carefully, as if I might break. He'd been doing that since the diagnosis, treating me like spun glass. "We were just leaving," Brittany said, not even looking at her son. "Tyler will be in the car." "I just got here." He straightened up, still holding the balloons. "I wanted to celebrate with Grandma." 5 minutes, David said, already following his wife to the door. "We have reservations." They always had reservations somewhere. For the past 16 years, they'd had reservations that didn't include their son. Tyler waited until their footsteps faded down the hallway before turning back to me. What did they want? "Nothing important." The lie tasted bitter. "These are beautiful, honey, thank you." He tied the balloons to my bed rail, then pulled up the chair his father had vacated. Where David had fidgeted, Tyler settled. Where David avoided my eyes, Tyler looked right at me. "You okay, Grandma? Really okay?" That's when I saw it, the worry he'd been carrying. This boy who'd spent more nights in my spare bedroom than his own. Who'd learned to make French toast at my kitchen counter because his parents were too busy building their dreams to make breakfast. "I'm okay. The doctors are amazed, actually. They said my recovery is remarkable." "You're the strongest person I know." He said it simply, like stating the weather. "Always have been." My mind drifted back to when he was 3, showing up at my door with a backpack full of toys and mismatched clothes. "Mommy and Daddy need space," he'd announced, like he was ordering lunch. Even then, he was protecting them, making their abandonment sound reasonable. That was the first of countless times. During their trial separation when he was 7, their business trips that always seemed to happen during school plays and basketball games, their date nights that stretched into weekends while I taught him to tie his shoes, ride a bike, navigate heartbreak. Remember when you taught me to make your famous meatloaf? Tyler smiled, pulling me back to the present. I must have been 8. 7. You wanted to surprise your parents for their anniversary. His smile faltered slightly. They came home 3 days late from that Vegas trip. But we had a nice dinner anyway, didn't we? Just you and me. Best meatloaf ever. He reached for my hand. You've always been there, Grandma, through everything. Everything, such a small word for so much life. The nights he'd had nightmares and called me instead of walking down the hall to his parents' room. The school projects built at my kitchen table because Brittany didn't want glue on her marble countertops. The talks about girls and grades and growing up that happened in my car during drives to practice. That's what grandmas do, I said. No, his voice was firm. That's what parents do, you just did it twice. The truth of it hit me like the chemo used to, wave after. Wave of recognition. I had raised 2 generations, my savings account growing thinner with each school supply list, each growth spurt requiring new clothes, each opportunity I made sure Tyler didn't miss because his parents were too busy or too broke or too focused on themselves. Your parents love you, I said automatically, the same lie I'd been telling for 16 years. I know, he squeezed my hand, but they love themselves more. When had he gotten so wise? This child I'd protected from truth was now protecting me with it. What did they really want? He asked again. And don't say nothing. Mom had her business face on. Her business face. Even Tyler knew Brittany had different masks for different occasions. They're having trouble with the restaurant. Again, he shook his head. Let me guess, they need money. Tyler. How much? I hesitated, but there was something in his eyes that demanded honesty. 200,000. He whistled low. Your retirement savings. How did you? You taught me to balance a checkbook when I was 12, remember? Said everyone should know where they stand financially. He smiled sadly. You showed me your accounts, taught me about compound interest and saving for the future. You said that money was your safety net. My safety net, woven from 30 years of overtime shifts, brown bag lunches, generic brands, and sacrificed vacations. Every penny saved with the promise that someday I'd be able to rest. They can't have it, Tyler said fiercely. You need that money. They're family. So are you, the words burst out of him. When do you get to matter, Grandma? When do you get to come first? Never, I thought, but didn't say. Mothers don't come first. We come last, after everyone else has taken what they need. You just beat cancer. His voice cracked. You should be planning trips, doing things you've always wanted to do, not bailing them out again. Again, because this wasn't the first time. 20,000 for their wedding that was supposed to be paid back. 15,000 for the restaurant's grand opening. 5,000 here, 10,000 there, always with promises of repayment that never came. Tyler, honey, it's complicated. No, it's not. He stood up, pacing now, so much like his grandfather when he was upset. It's simple. They want your money. They'll take it, waste it like they waste everything, and then blame you when it's gone. That's harsh. Is it wrong? I couldn't answer because we both knew it wasn't. You know what Mom said in the car on the way here? His voice was bitter now. She said we needed to hurry because she wanted to catch you while you're still grateful to be alive. Like your cancer was convenient timing. My stomach turned. She didn't mean. She did. Tyler stopped pacing, faced me. Grandma, she meant every word. Just like she means it when she drops me off at your house because I stress her out. Just like she meant it when she told Dad that you'd probably leave everything to me anyway, so why wait? She said that. Last week, during their budget meeting, they didn't know I was home. Budget meeting? Is that what they called planning to raid my savings? I've been thinking, Tyler said, his voice careful now. Maybe I should record some of their conversations, just in case. Tyler, no, that's... What? Wrong. More wrong than them trying to take everything you've worked for. He had a point, but I couldn't encourage my grandson to spy on his parents, even if those parents were circling me like vultures. Promise me you won't do anything rash, I said. He was quiet for a long moment, then nodded. I promise I won't do anything rash, but Grandma promised me something too. What's that? Promise you won't give them the money. Not yet. Not until you're sure it's what you want, not what they're pressuring you to do. I promise I'll think about it carefully. With your head, not your heart. I smiled despite everything. When did you get so smart? I had a good teacher. He leaned down to kiss my forehead. The best, actually. A knock on the door interrupted us. David peered in, looking impatient. Tyler, we really need to go. I'm staying, Tyler announced. I'll take an Uber home later. Your mother's expecting. Mom's expecting me to do what I'm told. But I'm 16, not 6. I'm staying with Grandma. David looked at me, expecting me to back him up, to send Tyler away like I'd always smoothed things over for them. But I was tired of smoothing, tired of sacrificing, tired of pretending this was normal. I'd love the company, I said instead. David's face darkened, but he just nodded. Fine, don't be too late. After he left, Tyler sat back down, pulling out his phone. Want to watch some videos? I saved a bunch of funny ones for you. As he scrolled through his phone, I noticed him pause at the voice recorder app, his thumb hovering over it for just a moment before moving on. Here, he said, showing. Gee me a cat video. This one's hilarious. We laughed together, but I couldn't shake the image of his thumb on that record button. Couldn't stop wondering what conversations he might have already captured. What truths were stored in that phone? David's investment folder lay forgotten on the bedside table, its promises as empty as the restaurant I'd helped fund. But Tyler was here, solid and real and fierce in his protection of me. Maybe I hadn't failed at raising David after all. Maybe I'd just been saving all my best parenting for Tyler. As another cat video played, I watched my grandson's face, so serious beneath the laughter, so determined to shield me from harm. He glanced at the folder, then at me, and I saw him make a decision. Grandma, he said quietly, what if I told you I already knew exactly what Mom and Dad are planning? Before I could answer, he was pulling up his voice recorder app, his finger hovering over a file labeled Family Meeting, last Tuesday. Tyler, what did you do? What someone should have done a long time ago, he said, then pressed play. David wouldn't meet my eyes as he explained how their restaurant was failing, how this investment could save everything. But I wasn't listening to him anymore. I was hearing Tyler's recording, Brittany's voice crystal clear through his phone. She's got 6 months, maybe a year. We need that money now, while she can still sign papers. Tyler paused the recording, watching my face. There's more, Grandma, a lot more. Turn it off, my voice came out strangled. Please. He did, tucking his phone away. We sat in silence, the celebration balloons mockingly cheerful above us. How long have you been recording them? Since your diagnosis. He looked down. At first, I just wanted to know what was really happening. They kept telling me you were fine, but then Mom would be researching funeral homes on her laptop. Funeral homes. While I was fighting for every breath, my daughter-in-law was pricing caskets. Tyler, this is a lot to process. I know, I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have. No, I reached for his hand. You were protecting me, but honey, they're still your parents. Are they? His voice was bitter. Parents are supposed to care about their kids. Mine only show up when they need something. The truth of it sat between us, heavy as the cancer that had tried to kill me. I'd spent 16 years making excuses for David and Brittany, covering their neglect with my love, filling the gaps they left in Tyler's life. But here was the result, a boy who'd learned to spy on his own parents because he couldn't trust them. What am I going to do? I asked, more to myself than to Tyler. Say no, he said simply. For once in your life, Grandma, just say no. But it wasn't that simple. It never was with family. Tyler stayed another hour, showing me more cat videos, chatting about school, anything to avoid talking about the recording. When he finally left, promising to come by the house tomorrow, I was alone with the investment folder and the knowledge that my son was planning to rob me. The next morning, I was discharged with a clean bill of health and a bag full of medications. David was supposed to pick me up, but he texted last minute saying Brittany needed the car for a showing. I took an Uber home, the driver helping me with my bags while I wondered when I'd become such an inconvenience to my own son. My house felt different after 3 days in the hospital. Smaller somehow, like it knew it was under threat. I'd lived here for 15 years, ever since the divorce. It wasn't much, a 2-bedroom ranch in a decent neighborhood, but it was mine. Paid off last year with the final chunk of my savings. I was settling onto the couch when my phone rang. Brittany. Sharon, how are you feeling? David said you got home okay. David hadn't said anything, because David hadn't asked. I'm fine, Brittany. Good, good. Listen, about our conversation yesterday. I realize I might have come on a bit strong. A bit strong, like a hurricane is a bit windy. I was just stressed about the restaurant, she continued. You understand, but the opportunity is real, Sharon. This could set us all up for life. All of us. Well, yes. When the restaurant succeeds, we'll be able to pay you back with interest. Maybe even help with your medical bills. My insurance covers my medical bills. For now, her voice took on that edge again. But what about next time? Cancer's tricky, Sharon. It likes to come back. There it was again. The reminder that I was living on borrowed time. I need to see real numbers, Brittany. Not projections. Real numbers. Of course. David's putting together a full presentation. How about we discuss it over dinner Sunday? Family dinner, just like old times. Old times. When had we ever had family dinners? When Tyler was little, maybe, before they discovered that parenting interfered with their lifestyle. Fine, Sunday. Perfect, ONSH. Aaron, maybe don't mention this to Tyler. You know how teenagers are. They don't understand business. Tyler understands more than you think. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I'll see you Sunday. I hung up before she could press further. The week stretched ahead, and I knew it would be filled with more calls, more pressure, more reminders of my mortality. I was right. Brittany called daily, each conversation a masterclass in manipulation. Monday. Did you know the average end-of-life care costs over $100,000? Just something to think about. Tuesday. We drove by Shady Pines today. Such a nice assisted living facility. Of course, it's $5,000 a month, but I'm sure you've planned for that. Wednesday. David's just devastated about the restaurant. He had such dreams. Remember when he was little and wanted to be a chef? David had never wanted to be a chef. He'd wanted to be a firefighter, then a lawyer, then whatever made the most money with the least effort. The restaurant had been Brittany's idea, her chance to play successful businesswoman while posting Instagram stories. By Thursday, I was exhausted. The calls, combined with my recovery, left me drained. When Tyler showed up after school with groceries, I nearly cried with relief. You didn't have to do this, I said as he unpacked milk and eggs. When's the last time you ate? He was already checking my fridge, frowning at the empty shelves. Grandma, you need to take care of yourself. It's been a rough week. Mom calling. I nodded. What's she saying now? Nothing worth repeating. He started making sandwiches, moving around my kitchen with easy familiarity. She's been researching your finances. What? I saw her computer. She had your bank's website up, trying different passwords. And she called your financial advisor pretending to be you. My blood ran cold. She what? Don't worry, they didn't tell her anything. But Grandma, she's not going to stop. I know. I watched him work. This boy who should have been worried about grades and girls instead of protecting his grandmother from his parents. Tyler, about those recordings. I have hours of them. He didn't look up from the sandwiches. Dad talking about power of attorney, Mom researching how to contest wills, both of them discussing how to handle you. Handle me, like I was a problem to be solved instead of the woman who'd raised their son. Why didn't you tell someone? Who would I tell? He finally looked at me. The police, family services. Hi, my parents are planning to steal from my grandmother, but they haven't done it yet. He had a point. Besides, he continued, I kept hoping they'd change their minds, that they'd remember your family, not a bank account. And then Mom said you were dying anyway, so what did it matter? His voice cracked. She said it like you were already gone, like the cancer had won and they were just waiting to collect. I opened my arms and he came, folding himself against me like he had when he was small, and the world was too big and scary. I'm not dying, I whispered into his hair. I'm too stubborn to die. Promise. Promise. We ate sandwiches in comfortable silence, 2 generations united against the one in between. When Tyler left, promising to be at Sunday dinner, I felt stronger than I had all week. That night, I pulled out my financial documents and did something I should have done years ago. I made a list of every penny I'd given David and Brittany, every loan that became a gift, every emergency that wasn't, every investment in their dreams that turned into enabling their irresponsibility. The total made me sick. $186,000 over 15 years, almost as much as they were asking for now. I'd already given them everything once. They'd squandered it and come back for more, this time betting on my cancer to make me weak enough to say yes. But I wasn't weak. I was a survivor, and Sunday dinner would be very different from what they expected. I didn't know that Tyler had stayed in the hallway, his phone recording everything his parents said after I left the room. But Tyler told me later, his voice shaking with anger as he recounted what he'd heard that day at the hospital. She actually used the word expiration date, Grandma, like you were a carton of milk. We were sitting in my living room the day before the big Sunday dinner, and Tyler had finally decided to tell me everything. Not just snippets, but the whole truth of what he'd been documenting for months. Start from the beginning, I said, though part of me wanted to cover my ears like a child. Tyler pulled out his phone, scrolling through files. It started the day you were diagnosed. I came home early from practice, and they were in Dad's office. I was about to knock when I heard Mom say your name. He pressed play. Brittany's voice filled my living room. Stage 2 is treatable, but the statistics aren't great for women her age. We need to start planning now. Davy. Dee's response. Jesus, Brittany, she just found out today. And someone has to be practical. She's got at least $200,000 in retirement accounts plus the house, if we play this right. Tyler paused it. That's when I started recording. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Neither can I, my voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. Someone whose son hadn't started planning her estate before she'd even started treatment. It gets worse. Tyler scrolled to another file. This is from last month, right before your last chemo session. This time, both their voices were clearer. They must have been closer to wherever Tyler was hiding. Brittany, the oncologist says she's responding well, too well. David, how is that a problem? She's my mother, Brittany. I want her to get better. Brittany, do you? Because a quick decline would solve a lot of our problems. Power of attorney is much easier to get when someone's actively dying. David, that's cold even for you. Brittany, cold. We're 3 months behind on the restaurant lease. Your mother is sitting on a fortune she'll never spend. That's what's cold. The recording ended. Tyler was watching me, his young face etched with worry. There are dozens more, he said quietly. Dad gets worse as they get more desperate. Last week, he was researching how to have you declared incompetent. Incompetent? I laughed, but it was hollow. I managed a medical clinic for 20 years. I raised 3 children. I beat cancer, but I'm incompetent. They were going to say the chemo affected your brain. Mom found some study about chemo brain and thought they could use it. Chemo brain. I'd had it, the fog, the forgetfulness during treatment, but it had cleared. My mind was sharp now, sharp enough to see betrayal coming from the 2 people who should have protected me. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Tyler's eyes filled with tears. Because I kept hoping I was wrong, that maybe I was misunderstanding, and because telling you meant admitting my parents are monsters. I pulled him close. They're not monsters, honey, they're just lost. Lost people don't plan to rob their mothers. His voice was muffled against my shoulder. Lost people don't celebrate when someone gets cancer because it makes them easier to manipulate. They celebrated. He pulled back, wiping his eyes. Mom bought champagne, the good stuff. Said it was for the restaurant, but I heard her toast to silver linings with Dad. Silver linings. My cancer was their silver lining. Show me the worst one, I said. The one that made you decide to tell me. Tyler hesitated, then scrolled to a file dated 3 days ago. This was after they visited you in the hospital, after they asked for the money. He pressed play. The audio was slightly muffled. He must have been recording from his bedroom, but the words were clear enough. Brittany, she's going to say no. I could see it in her eyes. David, maybe that's for the best. Maybe we should. Brittany, should what? Give up. Let the restaurant fail. Lose everything while your mother hoards money she'll never live to spend. David, don't say that. Brittany, why not? It's true. The doctors gave her 5 years tops. That's if the cancer doesn't come back, and it always comes back. David, so what do you want me to do? Force her? Brittany, if necessary, she's not thinking clearly. The treatment, the medications, the stress, it's affecting her judgment. Any lawyer would see that. David, you want me to have my mother declared mentally incompetent to steal her money? Brittany, I want you to grow a spine and take what's ours. She's dying anyway, David. Whether it's in 6 months or 6 years, she's dying. Why should we suffer while we wait? There was a long pause, then David's voice quieter. What if she changes her will, leaves everything to Tyler? Brittany laughed, ugly and sharp. Then we'll deal with Tyler. He's still a minor. We control him until he's 18. 2 years to convince him to share with his parents, or to make sure he can't inherit at all. The recording ended. The threat hung in the air between Tyler and me. She meant it, Tyler said. The way she said it, she meant it. I know. My mind was racing. They weren't just coming for my money. They were willing to go through Tyler to get it. We need to protect you. Me, Grandma, I'm worried about you. I'm old, I've lived my life, but you, I grabbed his hands. You're 16, you have everything ahead of you, I won't let them hurt you. What are we going to do? I thought about Sunday dinner, about sitting across from my son and his wife, pretending I didn't know they were planning my financial execution. About smiling while they calculated my remaining days like items on a grocery list. We're going to give them exactly what they expect, I said. A confused old woman who can't quite remember things, someone who needs help managing her affairs. And while they're focused on me, you're going to keep recording. Everything. Every word, every plan, every threat. Tyler nodded slowly. Like evidence. Exactly like evidence. Because if they want to play dirty, we need to be prepared. Should we call a lawyer? Not yet. Right now, they're just talking. But the moment they try to act on any of these plans, we'll be ready. Tyler hugged me again, and I felt the weight of what we were about to do. Spying on family. Gathering evidence against my own son. It went against everything I'd taught him about trust and love and forgiveness. But they'd left us no choice. They'd turned family into a business transaction, love into a liability, and my cancer into a countdown clock for their payday. Tyler, I said as he gathered his things to leave, at dinner tomorrow, I need you to act normal. Can you do that? I've been acting normal around them my whole life, he said sadly. One more performance won't kill me. After he left, I sat alone in my house, my paid-off, fought-for, survived-for house, and listened to the recordings again. Each word was a nail in the coffin of the family I thought I had. But as painful as it was, I felt grateful too. Grateful for Tyler, who loved me enough to protect me. Grateful for the truth, ugly as it was. And grateful that I was still alive to fight back. Tomorrow's dinner would be a performance worthy of an Oscar. The confused cancer patient considering her options. The loving mother wanting to help her struggling son. The dying woman making peace with her mortality. Let them think I was weak. Let them believe their own lies about my expiration date. Because I'd survived cancer, divorce, single motherhood, and 30 years of sacrifice. I could certainly survive them. Brittany called daily, each conversation more aggressive, reminding me that cancer could come back any time, as if I needed reminding that death was stalking me like a door-to-door salesman. I'm just being realistic, Sharon, she said during Friday's call, her voice dripping with false concern. Have you thought about what happens if you're suddenly unable to make decisions? Who handles your finances? Who pays your bills? I've been paying my own bills for 45 years, Brittany. But what if you can't? What if you have a stroke during chemo? What if the cancer spreads to your brain? She paused, letting the fear sink in. It happens, you know. My aunt went from perfectly fine to completely incapacitated in 3 weeks. Her aunt. Every conversation now included some cautionary tale about someone who'd waited too long, trusted the wrong person, or died without proper arrangements. Brittany had become a walking obituary column. I appreciate your concern, I lied, but I'm handling things. Are you, though? David mentioned you seemed confused at the hospital, forgetting things, repeating yourself. I hadn't forgotten anything or repeated myself, but arguing would only feed her narrative. So I stayed silent, letting her interpret it as confusion. We've found a wonderful lawyer, she continued. He specializes in elder care planning, very discreet, very understanding of sensitive family situations. Sensitive family situations. Was that what we were calling theft now? I don't need a lawyer. Everyone needs a lawyer, Sharon, especially someone in your position. Single, health issues, substantial assets, you're vulnerable. Vulnerable. The word echoed after I hung up. Was I vulnerable? My body still ached from treatment. Sometimes I forgot words, had to pause mid-sentence while my brain caught up. Was that normal recovery or the beginning of something worse? Saturday morning, David called. His approach was softer than his wife's, but no less calculated. Mom, I'm worried about you. I'm fine, David. Are you? Tyler said you seemed tired when he visited, said you were sleeping on the couch when he arrived. I had been napping, exhausted from Brittany's psychological warfare. But in David's retelling, it became evidence of decline. I'm recovering from cancer treatment. Being tired is normal. Of course, I want to help, we both do. Then stop calling every day to remind me I might die. Silence. Then, that's not fair, Mom. We're trying to prepare for every possibility. Isn't that what you taught me? To be prepared. I had taught him that, along with honesty, kindness, and putting family first. Funny how he only remembered the lessons that served his purposes. The lawyer Brittany mentioned, he continued. Maybe just meet with him. No commitment. Just hear what he has to say about protecting your assets. From whom exactly do my assets need protecting? Another pause. From the system, Mom. From probate courts and tax collectors and people who take advantage of the elderly. People like you, I thought but didn't say. I'll think about it. The appointment's already scheduled for Monday, right after our end-day dinner. We thought it would be convenient. Already scheduled. Of course it was. They'd probably already paid the retainer with money they didn't have, betting on my compliance. I said I'll think about it. Mom, his voice took on that wheedling tone I remembered from his teenage years. Don't you trust me? Trust. There was that word again, weaponized and aimed at my heart. We'll talk tomorrow, I said and hung up. The house felt smaller after each call, the walls pressing in with questions I couldn't answer. Was I being paranoid? Was this what cancer did to families, made everyone suspicious and grasping? Or was I finally seeing what had always been there? I found myself checking things obsessively. My bank statements all normal. My wills safely in my deposit box. My medications properly labeled and counted. But each check fed the doubt. Was this vigilance or paranoia? Protection or proof that I was losing it? By Saturday afternoon, I was exhausted. Not from cancer or chemo, but from the constant emotional assault. When the doorbell rang, I almost didn't answer, afraid it would be another surprise visit with more papers to sign. But it was Tyler, standing on my porch with a grocery bag and worried eyes. You didn't answer my texts, he said, pushing past me into the house. I got worried. I hadn't even heard my phone. When had I become someone who missed messages? I'm sorry, honey. It's been a rough couple of days. Mom and Dad. I nodded. He started unpacking groceries, soup, crackers, ginger ale, invalid food. They're getting worse, aren't they? They want me to see a lawyer Monday, about power of attorney. Tyler's hands stilled on a can of soup. You can't go. If I don't, they'll say I'm being irrational, paranoid. So let them say it. He turned to face me. Grandma, once you sign power of attorney, it's over. They can do whatever they want. I know. Do you? He pulled out his phone. Because I recorded them last night, planning exactly what they'll do once they have it. I didn't want to hear another recording. Didn't want more evidence that my son saw me as nothing but a checking account with a countdown timer. But Tyler was already pressing play. David's voice, tired and slightly drunk. Once we have power of attorney, we can start liquidating. The house first, it's the biggest asset. Brittany, we'll need to move her somewhere before we sell. Can't have her there during showings. David, Sunset Manor has availability. Brittany, that dump, I wouldn't put my dog there. David, it's what Medicare covers, besides with her health. She probably won't be there long. Brittany, true. And once she's there, we can clean out the house properly. Some of that furniture might be worth something. Didn't she say Harold's mother's china was antique? They went on, dividing my possessions like pirates with treasure. The china to sell, the jewelry to appraise, the photo albums to toss because Who needs all that old junk? Tyler stopped the recording. They're not even pretending anymore, Grandma. They're planning your funeral while you're still alive. I sank onto the couch, suddenly feeling every one of my 55 years. What kind of person plans their mother's disposal like a garage sale? The kind who never deserved you in the first place. Tyler sat beside me, taking my hand. You don't owe them anything. He's my son. No, your son was the little boy in those photo albums they want to throw away. This person, I don't know who he is. We sat in silence, the weight of tomorrow's dinner hanging between us. I knew Tyler was right. The son I'd raised was gone, replaced by a stranger who saw my cancer as a business opportunity. I'm scared, I admitted. Not of dying, of what they'll do if I say no. That's why I'll be there, Tyler said firmly. And why I'll be recording everything. If they threaten you, if they try to force you, we'll have proof. When did you become my protector? When they stopped being your family. He squeezed my hand. Real family doesn't circle like vultures. Real family shows up with soup and makes sure you're eating. I looked at the groceries he'd brought, the worried face that checked on me daily, the boy who'd appointed himself my guardian against his own parents. You're right, I said. Real family does. As Tyler heated soup and fussed over me like a mother hen, I made my decision. Tomorrow, I would sit at my table with my son and his wife. I would listen to their proposals and their manipulations. I would play whatever part I needed to play. But I would not sign anything. Not power of attorney, not financial documents, not even a birthday card if they produced one. Because I'd realized something important during their campaign of fear. I wasn't afraid of dying. I was afraid of dying on their terms, discarded and forgotten in a Medicare facility while they sold my life piece by piece. And that was not going to happen. Tyler stayed until late, making sure I ate, helping me organize my medications, just being present in the way his parents never were. When he finally left, promising to arrive early for dinner tomorrow, I felt stronger than I had in days. Let them come with their lawyers and their lies. I had something more powerful than legal documents. I had the truth, and a grandson who loved me enough to help me fight for it. Tyler sat at my kitchen table, the same spot where I'd helped him with homework for years, and asked, Grandma, what would you do if someone was trying to hurt someone you love? It was Sunday morning, just hours before the dinner that felt more like an execution. He'd arrived early, as promised, with bagels and orange juice, and that same worried expression he'd worn for months. I'd protect them, I answered without hesitation, whatever it took. Even if protecting them meant betraying someone else you loved. I knew where this was going. Tyler, what you're doing with the recordings isn't betrayal. His voice was firm, older than his 16 years. Betrayal is planning to rob your mother while she's fighting cancer. What I'm doing is justice. Justice, such a heavy word for such young shoulders. I need to tell you something, he said, pulling out his phone again. About the lawyer they're bringing tomorrow. How do you know about that? Mom left her email open. I saw the correspondence. He looked ashamed but determined. His name is Marcus Webb. He's not a real elder law attorney. What do you mean? I mean he's been disbarred twice for ethics violations. Now he does consulting for families trying to get control of elderly relatives' assets. Mom found him on some forum for people trying to get inheritances early. My stomach turned. There are forums for that. There are forums for everything, Grandma, and Mom's been active on several. Username Brittany Beats 55. He showed me screenshots. She's been getting advice on how to have you declared incompetent, how to challenge your will if you change it, even how to. He trailed off, but I could fill in the blanks. How to speed up the process, how to ensure the cancer came back, how to make an accident look natural. This is evidence of premeditation, I said, my clinic manager brain kicking in. This proves they've been planning this since my diagnosis. Earlier, actually, Tyler scrolled to older posts. Look at the dates. She started researching this stuff 2 years ago, right after Grandpa died. 2 years. They'd been circling me for 2 years, waiting for the right moment to strike. And cancer had been their golden opportunity. Tyler, we need to take this to the police. And say what? My mom's mean on the internet. He shook his head. They haven't done anything illegal yet. That's why they need you to sign those papers. Then I won't sign. They're not going to accept that. He pulled up another recording. Listen to this. It's from yesterday. Brittany's voice, frustrated and sharp. If she refuses to sign, we go to Plan B. David, which is? Brittany, we have Tyler tell the lawyer that he's noticed concerning behavior. Confusion, forgetting his name, leaving the stove on. Between his testimony and our documentation, any judge would grant us conservatorship. David, Tyler would never do that. Brittany, Tyler will do what we tell him, or he'll find himself living somewhere a lot less comfortable than Grandma's house. The recording ended. Tyler's face was pale but resolute. They're planning to use me against you, he said, to make me lie. You don't have to. I know. That's why I've been documenting everything. Every lie they've told, every threat they've made, every time they've dropped me off here because they had plans. 16 years of evidence that they're unfit parents. Tyler, no. You can't sacrifice your relationship with them for me. What relationship? His laugh was bitter. Grandma, they had their anniversary dinner last week. Want to know how I know? Not because they told me. Because the credit card company called looking for payment and they'd listed me as an authorized user without telling me. They what? Oh, it gets better. Turns out they've opened 3 cards in my name. I'm 16 with a credit score of 420 because my parents have been destroying my financial future to fund their restaurant. I reached for his hand. We'll fix this, I promise. I know, but first we deal with dinner. He straightened, looking more like a general planning a battle than a teenager. Here's what's going to happen. They're going to come in all sweet and concerned. Mom will have prepared talking points about your condition. Dad will look sad but supportive. The lawyer will just happen to drop by with papers that need signing today. And I'll play the confused cancer patient who needs help. No, Tyler's voice was firm. You'll be exactly who you are. Sharon Martinez, survivor. Let them show their true colors. But if I do, and play along, then they'll escalate, and when they do, I'll be recording every word. He held up his phone. I've got 3 backup batteries and enough storage for hours. By the end of dinner, we'll have everything we need. For what? For whatever comes next. Criminal charges, restraining orders, emancipation papers if necessary. He saw my shocked face. I've been doing research too, Grandma. If they want to play legal games, we need to be prepared. I studied my grandson, this boy who'd been forced to become a warrior to protect me. When did you grow up? The day Mom said you were dying anyway, so what did it matter? His voice cracked slightly. That's when I knew I was the only family you really had. That's not true. Your father is a coward who chose his wife over his mother, who sees dollar signs where he should see the woman who raised him, who's willing to throw you away for a failing restaurant that was never his dream anyway. The truth of it sat heavy between us. David had always been weak, always taken the path of least resistance. I'd made excuses for him, blamed his father's absence, my working too much, anything but the simple fact that some people are born without backbones. I'm sorry, I said. Sorry you have to deal with this. Sorry they're not the parents you deserve. I'm not, Tyler lifted his chin. Because it taught me what real family looks like. It looks like you, Grandma. Showing up to every game, every school play, every time I needed someone. It looks like homemade cookies and help with homework and never making me feel like a burden. You've never been a burden. I know, but I was supposed to be their joy, not yours. They gave that up. Now I choose you. Tears ran down my face. This child, this beautiful, brave child, choosing me over the parents who'd failed him. So here's the plan, Tyler continued, wiping my tears with a gentleness that broke my heart. We get through dinner, we gather evidence, and then we make sure they never hurt you again. And you, what happens to you? I'll be fine. I've got college applications ready, early admission possibilities. Worst case, I get emancipated and move in here officially. Best case, he smiled sadly. There is no best case, is there? Not when your parents are willing to destroy their own mother for money. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Too early for dinner. I looked out the window and felt my blood freeze. Marcus Webb stood on my porch, briefcase in hand, shark smile in place. They weren't waiting for dinner. They were starting the attack early. Game time, Tyler whispered, pulling out his phone. Remember, you're not alone. I opened the door, my grandson beside me, and prepared for war disguised as Sunday dinner. I'd made David's favorite pot roast, hoping food might soften whatever was hardening between us. But Brittany arrived talking about funeral costs before she even took off her coat. Sharon, you really should consider pre-planning, she announced, setting a folder on my kitchen counter. The average funeral runs about $12,000 now. It's quite the burden on families. Marcus Webb was already seated at my dining table, having weaseled his way in an hour early with claims of scheduling conflicts. Tyler had been recording since the doorbell rang. I'm not dead yet, Brittany, I said, checking the roast. Of course not, but planning ahead is responsible. Don't you want to ease the burden on David? The burden? I was already a burden and I was still breathing. My sister Rosa arrived then, thank God, carrying her famous Tres Leches cake and wearing her no-nonsense expression. She'd driven in from Austin after I'd called her yesterday, cryptically asking her to come for dinner. Brittany, Rosa said coolly. Still counting other people's money, I see. Rosa, Brittany's smile could have frozen hell. How nice, we weren't expecting you. Family dinner means family, Rosa said, kissing my cheek. You look good, Hermana. Stronger than these vultures expected, I bet. David finally arrived, slinking in like a guilty dog. He hugged me awkwardly, avoiding eye contact, then shook Webb's hand with obvious familiarity. Mom, this is Marcus Webb. He's here to help with some planning. We've met, I said dryly. He let himself in. I invited him, Brittany corrected. Since we're all here, we might as well handle business before dinner. Business before family, Rosa muttered. How very American. Tyler appeared at my elbow. Need help with the roast, Grandma? Please. As we transferred food to serving dishes, Tyler whispered, Mom's already had 2 glasses of wine. She gets mean when she drinks. I know, honey. Also, Mr. Webb keeps checking his phone. I think he's recording too. Of course he was. Everyone documenting everyone else, like we were evidence instead of family. We gathered around the table, the same table where I'd hosted countless holiday meals, where David had announced his engagement, where Tyler had blown out birthday candles. Now it felt like a boardroom. Let's say grace, I said, reaching for hands. Really, Brittany sighed, we're not religious. I am, Rosa said firmly, grabbing Brittany's hand harder than necessary. And it's Sharon's house. We bowed our heads, and I prayed silently for strength, for wisdom, and for this meal to end without bloodshed. Amen, Tyler said loudly when I finished. Now can we eat? I'm starving. But Brittany was already pulling out documents. Actually, while we're all together, Mr. Webb has prepared some papers that need signatures. The pot roast will get cold, I protested. This is more important than pot roast. She spread papers across my good tablecloth. Power of attorney, medical directives, financial management authorization. Standard stuff. Standard, Rosa leaned forward. Since when is signing your life away standard? No one's signing their life away, David said weakly. We're just trying to protect Mom. From what? Rosa's voice could have cut glass. From the children trying to rob her. How dare you? Brittany started. How dare you? Rosa stood. My sister beats cancer and you show up with a lawyer. What kind of family does that? The kind that plans ahead, Webb interjected smoothly. Mrs. Martinez is facing significant health challenges without proper documentation. She's in remission, Tyler said loudly. The doctors said she's doing great. For now, Brittany snapped. But cancer comes back, especially at her age. Brittany, David actually looked shocked. What? We're all thinking it, might as well be honest. She turned to me. Sharon, you need to face facts. You're 55 with a cancer history. Your life expectancy is... Stop. Tyler's voice cracked like a whip. Just stop talking about her like she's already dead. Tyler, the adults are talking, Brittany said dismissively. No, the vultures are circling. He stood, matching Rosa's defensive posture. And I'm done watching it. Sit down, David ordered. You don't understand. I understand everything. Tyler's hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. I understand that you've been planning this since Grandpa died. I understand that you see Grandma as a bank account, not a person. I understand that you're willing to destroy her to save a restaurant that's failing because you're terrible at business. Tyler, Brittany's face went red. You apologize right now. For what? Telling the truth. He looked at me. Grandma, you don't have to listen to this. You don't have to sign anything. She does if she wants our help, Brittany said coldly. When the cancer comes back, and it will, who's going to take care of her? You. Yes, Tyler and Rosa said it simultaneously. I will, Tyler continued. Like I always have. Like I did when you dropped me off for weeks at a time. Like I am right now. You're 16, David said. You don't get to make these decisions. But I get to make mine, I said quietly. Everyone turned to look at me. And I've decided I'm not signing anything today. Mom, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. I'm in remission. I'm of sound mind. I don't need anyone managing my affairs. Webb cleared his throat. Mrs. Martinez, with all due respect, your family has concerns about your mental state. What concerns? Rosa demanded. Confusion, memory issues, erratic behavior, he read from his phone. According to their documentation. Their lies, Tyler interrupted. Tyler, enough, Brittany stood. You're being disrespectful. Respect is earned, Rosa shot back. And you've earned nothing but contempt. The table erupted. Brittany yelling at Rosa. David trying to calm everyone. Webb frantically taking notes. And through it all, Tyler stood beside me, protective as a guard dog. Enough. I slammed my hand on the table, making dishes jump. This is my house, my table, my life, and I'm done being talked about like I'm not here. Silence fell like a hammer. Brittany, David, Mr. Webb, I appreciate your concern. My voice was steady, my teacher voice, the one that commanded respect. But I don't need your help. Not today, not like this. You're making a mistake, Brittany said coldly. When you're drooling in some Medicare facility, don't come crying to us. She won't be, Tyler said, because I'll be taking care of her, like family is supposed to. You ungrateful little. What, son? Tyler's voice was ice. Because that's what I am, your son, the one you've ignored for 16 years, the one Grandma raised while you played restaurant owner. David stood. We're leaving. Mom, when you come to your senses, you know where to find us. No, I said clearly. When you remember that I'm your mother, not your ATM, you know where to find me. They gathered their things, Webb shoving papers into his briefcase with obvious irritation. At the door, Brittany turned back. This isn't over. When you need us, and you will, don't expect simp. Athy. I expect nothing from you, I said. I haven't for years. They left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle windows. The house felt lighter immediately, like poison had been extracted. Rosa hugged me. You okay, Hermana? I'm perfect, I said and meant it. Tyler, you still hungry? Starving, he admitted. Then let's eat this pot roast before it gets cold. And Tyler, I waited until he looked at me. Thank you for everything. That's what family does, he said simply. As we finally sat down to eat, Tyler pulled out his phone. By the way, I recorded everything, including Mom threatening you and Mr. Webb admitting they falsified concerns about your mental state. Rosa laughed, raising her water glass. To family, the real kind. To family, Tyler and I echoed. But even as we ate and talked and pretended things were normal, I knew Brittany was right about one thing. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Tyler's hands shook as he connected his phone to the Bluetooth speaker, saying, "Everyone needs to hear what my parents say when they think no one's listening." We had finished dinner, the pot roast sitting heavy in our stomachs, along with the weight of what had just happened. Rosa was helping me clear plates when Tyler made his announcement. Tyler, what are you doing? I asked, though I already knew. What I should have done months ago. He scrolled through his files. Aunt Rosa needs to hear this. Everyone needs to hear this. Mijo, maybe we should. Rosa started. No, no more protecting them. No more pretending. His finger hovered over a file dated 3 weeks ago. This is from the night Grandma finished chemo, the night we should have been celebrating. He pressed play. Brittany's voice filled my kitchen, crystal clear and cold as winter. She's dying anyway, David. Whether it's 6 months or 6 years, she's dying. Why should we suffer while we wait? David's response. That's my mother you're talking about. Brittany, your mother who's sitting on $400,000 while we're about to lose everything. Your mother who could save us but chooses not to. David, she doesn't owe us. Brittany, she owes you everything. You're her son, her only successful child. Rose is a teacher, for God's sake. Tom's on his 3rd marriage. You're the one who stayed close. You're the one who deserves. Tyler paused it. Rose's face had gone pale. There's more, Tyler said quietly. So much more. Play it, Rosa said, her voice deadly calm. Tyler selected another file. This one was dated last month. Brittany again. I've been researching. If she's declared incompetent, we get control of everything. The house, the savings, the life insurance she thinks we don't know about. David, how would we even? Brittany, Dr. Morrison owes you from that golf tournament thing. He could write a letter expressing concerns. Between that and Tyler's testimony about her confusion. David, Tyler would never. Brittany, Tyler will do what we tell him, or he'll be living with my mother in Phoenix. See how he likes that. The recording continued. Brittany outlining exactly how they'd sell my house, liquidate my accounts, put me in the cheapest facility they could find. David occasionally protesting weakly before ultimately agreeing. They discussed my death like a business merger, calculating how long I might live versus how quickly they needed money. This one's from yesterday, Tyler said, his voice breaking. After they knew dinner was planned. Brittany, if she doesn't sign tomorrow, we implement Plan B. David, which is? Brittany, we start documenting everything. Every stumbled word, every forgotten appointment. We get the neighbors involved, tell them we're worried about her living alone. Build a case. David, That could take months. Brittany, not if she has an accident. Old people fall all the time. Broken hip, head injury. Suddenly she needs full-time care she can't afford. Suddenly she's grateful we're willing to take over. David, you're not suggesting. Brittany, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying accidents happen, especially to confused cancer patients who might forget they already took their pain medication, or who might slip in the shower, or who might leave the gas on. The recording ended. The kitchen was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Dios mío, Rosa whispered. They were planning to hurt you. Not were, Tyler corrected. Are, present tense. This isn't over just because dinner ended badly. I sank into a chair, the full weight of it hitting me. My son, my baby boy, had sat in his home and discussed ways to harm me, had agreed to document my decline, had chosen his wife's greed over his mother's safety. There are hours more, Tyler said. Dad researching power of attorney laws. Mom on forums for people trying to get inheritances early. Both of them discussing how to use me against Grandma. Why didn't you tell someone sooner? Rosa asked gently. Because. I kept hoping, Tyler's voice cracked. I kept hoping they'd remember they were supposed to love her, love us, but they don't. They love money, they love themselves, and they'll destroy anyone who gets in their way. Not anyone, Rosa said firmly. Not my sister, not while I'm breathing. What do we do? I asked, feeling older than my 55 years. They're right about one thing, I could get sick again. The cancer could come back. So, Rosa's eyes flashed, that makes you less deserving of dignity, of safety, of keeping what you worked for. I have copies of everything, Tyler said. Audio files, screenshots, emails. I've already uploaded them to multiple cloud services. If anything happens to any of us. Smart boy, Rosa approved. But we're not waiting for something to happen. Tomorrow we're going to a real lawyer. A good one. We're filing for restraining orders. Against my own son. Against the man who discussed causing you to have an accident, Rosa corrected. That's not your son anymore, Sharon. Your son wouldn't do this. She was right. The David I'd raised was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. Someone who could plan my suffering over dinner. What about Tyler? I asked. They're still his parents, they could. They could try, Tyler interrupted. But I'm 16. In 2 years, I'm 18. And I have enough evidence of neglect and emotional abuse to get emancipated tomorrow if necessary. You've thought this through. I've had months to think while listening to them plan your disposal. He sat beside me, taking my hand. Grandma, I'm not losing you. Not to cancer, not to them, not to anything I can prevent. But your college fund is already gone. His smile was bitter. They drained it last year for the restaurant, told me I could take out loans like everyone else. Another betrayal, another theft. How many more would we uncover? I'll pay for your college, I said immediately. No, I'll earn scholarships, I'll work, I'll figure it out. He squeezed my hand. But I'll do it knowing you're safe, that's all that matters. Rosa started making plans, her teacher mind organizing our defense. Legal representation, documentation, security systems, medical directives that explicitly excluded David and Brittany, a new will with ironclad provisions. We'll need to move fast, she said, before they regroup, before they try something desperate. They already seemed desperate, I pointed out. That was calculated. Desperate is when they realize we have evidence, when they understand Tyler's been recording them. Rosa looked grim. Desperate is dangerous. As if summoned by her words, my phone rang. David. Don't answer, Tyler said quickly. But I was tired of running from this. I put it on speaker. Mom, David's voice was different, harder. We need to talk. We just talked. No, you ambushed us. Had Rosa there turned Tyler against us? You turned Tyler against you, I interrupted. Every time you dropped him off like unwanted luggage. Every time you chose the restaurant over his games. Every time you discussed my death like a financial windfall. Silence, then, he played the recordings. Not a question, a statement. I played them, Tyler said loudly. And I have copies, lots of copies. Tyler, Brittany's voice now shrill with panic. What have you done? What someone should have done months ago, he replied. Protected Grandma from you. You little bastard. Brittany, David cut her off. Tyler, those recordings, they're illegal, you can't use them. Actually, Rosa interjected, Texas is a one-party consent state. Only one person in the conversation needs to know it's being recorded. Tyler was present for most of these, perfectly legal. More silence. I could practically hear them recalculating. What do you want? Brittany finally asked. For you to leave me alone, I said simply. No more calls, no more visits, no more lawyers, just leave me alone. And if we don't? Then everyone hears those recordings, Tyler said. Your friends, your investors, the police, everyone. You'd destroy your own parents. You destroyed yourselves, Tyler replied. I'm just documenting it. Brittany's face went from red to white as her own voice filled the room. She's dying anyway. What does she need $200,000 for? Chemo? The words hung in the air like a poison cloud, and even through the phone, I could feel her panic. That's taken out of context, she stammered. What context makes that okay? Rosa demanded. What possible context makes planning to hurt my sister acceptable? We weren't planning to hurt anyone. Tyler played another clip, Brittany's voice clear and cruel. Old people fall all the time. Broken hip, head injury. Suddenly she needs full-time care she can't afford. Stop, David said weakly. Just stop. Why? Tyler's voice was steel. You didn't stop when you were planning it. You didn't stop when you brought that fake lawyer. You didn't stop when Mom threatened to send me to Phoenix if I didn't lie about Grandma. We're your parents, Brittany shrieked. No, Tyler said calmly. You're the people who donated DNA. Grandma's my parent. Has been since I was old enough to realize you'd rather be anywhere but with me. I heard a crash through the phone, something thrown against a wall. Brittany, calm down, David pleaded. Calm down, our son he's been spying on us. You've been planning to rob his grandmother, Rosa pointed out. Maybe focus on that. This is all your fault, Brittany hissed at me through the phone. You turned him against us, poisoned him with your martyrdom and your guilt trips. I never said a word against you, I interrupted. Not when you missed his birthday for a wine tasting. Not when you forgot his basketball championship. Not when you left him with me for 3 weeks while you went to Vegas to save your marriage. I covered for you every single time. And that's the problem. Brittany's voice was unhinged now. You made us look bad by being too good. Saint Sharon, always there, always perfect. Always present, Tyler corrected. That's all, she showed up, you didn't. David, I said quietly, is this really what you want, what you've become? A long pause. Then my son's voice, smaller than I'd heard it since he was 10. I don't know how we got here. I do, Tyler said. It started when you chose money over family, when you decided Grandma's life was worth less than your restaurant. That's not, we never. Dad, Tyler's voice gentled slightly. I have recordings of you researching how to have her declared incompetent, of you agreeing to document her confusion, of you saying, and I quote, maybe it would be better if it happened quickly. I gasped. I hadn't heard that one. You said that, I whispered. You said it would be better if I died quickly. Mom, How could you? The words ripped from my throat. I carried you for 9 months. I raised you alone after your father left. I worked 2 jobs to put you through college. I gave you everything, and you sat in your house planning my death. We weren't planning. Yes, you were. I was crying now, great gulping sobs. You were planning to hurt me, to steal from me, to throw me away like garbage. My own son, my baby boy. Mom, please. No, no more. You're not my son. The words tasted like ash. My son would never do this. I don't know who you are, but you're not the child I raised. You don't mean that, David said, but his voice was uncertain. I do. Tyler's more my child than you've ever been. At least he loves me for more than my bank account. That's it, Brittany screamed. We're done. When you're dying alone, when you need someone to hold your hand through the next round of chemo, don't call us. When you're scared and sick and sorry, remember this moment. I'll remember, I said quietly. I'll remember that when I was scared and sick, you saw an opportunity. When I needed support, you brought lawyers. When I beat cancer, you wished I hadn't. David, Brittany commanded, we're getting Tyler. He's coming home, tonight. No, Tyler said simply. I'm not. You don't get a choice. Actually, I do. I have recordings of you threatening to send me to Phoenix, of Dad saying I was too expensive, of both of you admitting you've stolen my college fund. Any judge would grant me emancipation in a heartbeat. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Tyler's voice was ice. Come to this house. Try to take me. See what happens when I play those recordings for the police. David, Brittany's voice was desperate now. Do something. But David was crying. I could hear it through the phone, the same hitching sobs from when he was little and had broken something precious. I'm sorry, he whispered. Mom, I'm so sorry. I don't know how. I didn't mean. You did mean it, Rosa said coldly. You meant every word. You're just sorry you got caught. Choose, Brittany demanded. Right now, David, choose your mother or your wife, your past or your future. Choose. The silence stretched like a taut wire. I held my breath, some stupid part of me still hoping my son would choose me, would choose right, would choose love over money. Brittany, David said finally, his voice thick. I think we should go. Gio, we're not going anywhere until. We're going. We're leaving Mom alone. We're done. You spineless. A door slammed, cutting off Brittany's words. Mom, David's voice was clearer now. He must have walked away from her. Mom, I know you'll never forgive me. I know I don't deserve it, but I need you to know. Part of me still loves you. The part Brittany hasn't poisoned. It's small, but it's there. That's not enough, I said through my tears. Love without action is just a pretty word. I know I'm going to get help, therapy or something, figure out how I became this person. He paused. Take Carr. E of Tyler. He's better off with you. He always was. I know, I said simply. Tell him I'm sorry for all of it, for being the father who wasn't there, for choosing wrong, for everything. Tell him yourself, when you've earned the right to speak to him again. Yeah, okay, goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, David. The call ended. Rosa immediately pulled me into a hug while Tyler stood frozen, his phone still in his hand like a weapon he no longer needed. It's over, Rosa murmured. You're safe now. But I wasn't thinking about my safety. I was thinking about the little boy who'd clung to my hand on his first day of school, who'd brought me dandelions and called them flowers, who'd promised to take care of me when he grew up. That little boy was gone, had been gone for years, maybe, but tonight I'd finally held the funeral. Grandma, Tyler's voice was small, are you okay? I pulled him into our hug, this makeshift family bound by choice rather than blood. I will be, I promised. We all will be. David stood in my doorway the next morning, suitcase in hand, looking like the lost boy I'd raised after his father left. His eyes were red-rimmed, his usually perfect hair disheveled, And for the first time in years, I saw my son instead of Brittany's husband. She kicked me out, he said simply. Changed the locks, drained the accounts, says she's filing for divorce. And you came here. I couldn't hide my surprise. I didn't know where else to go. He shifted the suitcase awkwardly. I know I don't deserve. You don't, Tyler said from behind me. He'd stayed the night, protective as a guard dog. You absolutely don't deserve her kindness. Tyler, I said gently, then turned back to David. What do you want? I don't know, I sat in my car all night thinking about what you said, about the little boy who wanted to be a firefighter. Remember that Halloween? You made me a costume out of cardboard boxes and red paint. You wore it for weeks, slept in the helmet. When did I stop wanting to save people and start wanting to rob them? His voice cracked. When did I become someone who could plan his mother's, who could wish? He couldn't finish, couldn't say the words that had been so easy when he thought no one was listening. Come in, I said, stepping aside. But understand this isn't forgiveness. This is just coffee and conversation. He entered hesitantly, like a stranger in the house where he'd grown up. Tyler watched him with laser focus, phone visible in his hand, a clear warning. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where this had all started, where he'd pushed papers at me with sweaty palms and desperate lies. I called a lawyer this morning, David said. A real one, to file for divorce and to make sure you're protected, from me, from her, from any claim we might try to make. Why? Because Tyler was right. You've already given us everything. Almost $200,000 over the years, wasn't it? He laughed bitterly. I kept telling myself it was loans, investments, but it was theft. Slow-motion theft from the woman who gave me life. Pretty words, Tyler said coldly. Where was this conscience yesterday? Buried under 5 years of Brittany telling me I deserved more. That successful sons shouldn't have to watch their mothers hoard money. That family wealth should flow down, not sit in savings accounts. And you believed her. I wanted to believe her. It was easier than admitting I was a failure. The restaurant, the marriage, the father thing, I failed at all of it. But if I could blame you, Mom, for not helping enough, he shrugged. Brittany gave me someone to blame besides myself. So now you're blaming her, Tyler challenged. No, I'm blaming me for being weak, for choosing easy over right, for letting her poison turn into my own. David looked at me. I heard the recordings, Mom, all of them. Tyler sent them last night. I looked at Tyler, surprised. He needed to hear them, Tyler said defensively. Needed to understand what he'd become. The worst part, David continued, was hearing myself agree, hearing how easily I went along with it, how I justified it. She's old. She doesn't need it. We deserve it. Like you were a problem to solve instead of my mother. What do you want me to say? I asked. That it's okay, that I forgive you, because I can't, not yet, maybe not ever. I don't want forgiveness. I want. He paused, choosing words carefully. I want to earn the right to be in the same room as you without Tyler standing guard. I want to prove that somewhere inside this mess, your son still exists. How? I don't know. Therapy, definitely. Getting a real job instead of chasing Brittany's dreams. Being the father Tyler deserved 15 years ago. He looked at Tyler. If you'll let me. I don't need a father, Tyler said flatly. I have Grandma. I know, but maybe you could use a better uncle, someone who shows you. Who remembers birthdays, who doesn't see you as a bargaining chip. Tyler snorted. The bar's pretty low. I'll try to clear it anyway. Rosa arrived then, having driven back from her hotel. She stopped short seeing David at the table. Should I call the police? She asked me, ignoring him completely. No, we're just talking. Talking. She poured herself coffee, movements sharp. Yesterday he was planning your funeral. Today we're having coffee. Today he's getting divorced and starting therapy, I said. It's a beginning. Of what? I looked at my son, really looked at him. Saw the exhaustion, the shame, the tiny flicker of the boy I'd raised. It wasn't enough, might never be enough, but it was more than yesterday. Of whatever comes next, I said finally. The next weeks were a blur of lawyers and paperwork. David, true to his word, filed for divorce and signed documents relinquishing any claim to my assets. He moved into a studio apartment, got a job at a logistics company, started twice-weekly therapy. Brittany fought the divorce viciously, but the recordings were damning. Texas family court judges don't look kindly on spouses who plan to harm their in-laws. She got nothing, no alimony, no assets, no sympathy. Tyler officially moved in with me, his old room becoming a real bedroom instead of a refuge. We fell into easy rhythms, breakfast together, homework at the kitchen table, movie nights on Fridays. The family we'd always been just made official. Any regrets? Rosa asked during one of her visits. She'd been coming monthly, our sisterhood stronger for having weathered this storm together. About what? David, letting him back in even a little. I thought about it. David came for dinner once a week now. Awkward dinners where he tried too hard and Tyler watched him like a hawk. But last week, Tyler had actually laughed at one of his jokes. A small sound, quickly stifled but real. No regrets, I said. Cautious hope maybe, but not regret. You're more forgiving than I would be. I'm not forgiving. I'm just open to the possibility that people can change. That my son might still be in there somewhere, under all of Brittany's poison and his own weakness. And if he disappoints you again, then Tyler and I will be fine. We've already survived the worst betrayal. Everything else is just life. And it was just life. My life reclaimed and rebuilt. I returned to work part-time at the clinic, my body strong and cancer-free. Tyler thrived, his grades excellent, his college applications promising. He'd decided on pre-law, inspired by our experience. I want to protect people, he told me. Grandparents who are being exploited, kids who need advocates, families that are real families, not just DNA connections. You already do that, I said, thinking of how he'd saved me. Then I want to do it professionally, with degrees and credentials and the power to make it stick. Some evenings I sat on my porch of my house, that no one could take from me, and marveled at the strange turns life took. I'd lost a son but gained a deeper relationship with my grandson. Lost trust but found strength. Lost the illusion of family but discovered the reality was actually better. You look happy, Tyler said one evening, joining me with 2 cups of tea. I am, I realized with surprise. Despite everything, or maybe because of it, I'm happy. Good, you deserve it. We deserve it, I corrected. We survived Tyler, both of us. Together, he agreed, clinking his mug against mine. Together, the family we'd chosen, the love we'd earned, the future we'd protected. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was the life I'd fought for. And that made it worth everything. You know, after all I gave them, after all those years of sacrifice, I learned that cancer wasn't the only thing trying to kill me. Sometimes the real threat comes from the people who should protect you most. If you're watching this and feeling that twist in your gut because someone in your family sees your illness as an opportunity, please know you're not alone. Your diagnosis doesn't diminish your worth. Your prognosis doesn't determine your rights. And your vulnerability doesn't make you prey. I survived cancer, but more importantly, I survived the betrayal that came after. And I couldn't have done it without Tyler, proof that sometimes our protectors come in unexpected forms. Sometimes a 16-year-old grandson has more courage than grown adults. Sometimes the family that matters is the one that chooses you, not the one that chose your assets. To every cancer survivor, every vulnerable elder, every person facing family pressure while fighting for their life, your money is yours. Your home is yours. Your dignity is absolutely yours. Don't let anyone, not even your own children, convince you otherwise. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it. And please, leave a comment with your own experiences. This community has taught me that we're stronger when we share our truths. For resources on protecting yourself from elder financial abuse, check the description below. The National Elder Fraud Hotline is there for you. Cancer support groups can connect you with others who understand. And remember, recording conversations might just save your life, or at least your life savings. You are not your diagnosis. You are not your bank account. You are worthy of love, respect, and safety at every stage of life. Stay strong, trust your instincts, and never apologize for protecting yourself.